up, everybody? Welcome to the Porch, a Volquest baseball podcast. I am your host, Eric Kane, and we got a busy program coming up here today. But first, give a shout out to our friends, to our proud sponsors, allowing us to do this show, allowing us to get our great guest on, Lipsius, who's going to join us, the former Vol, here in a matter of about 10 or 15 minutes. That is our friends at Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP. You got a problem? You might not have it now, but maybe you will in the future. You got a problem? Let them find a solution for you. That is T&N Trial Lawyers. You can get a free consultation by giving them a call today at 423-245-4185 and go visit them online if you need to at SpiveyKingandSpiveyLLP.com. Matthew A. Spivey, J. Matt King, Richard A. Spivey, they are Tennessee fans. They are baseball fans, and they can help you if you have a need. Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP. All right, so a big one this weekend. Tennessee is going to host LSU. Tennessee is going to host the reigning, defending national champions. Sure, you look at that record, it might not reflect that right now. LSU 22-12, 3-9 in Southeastern Conference play, but much like going into the series last weekend against Auburn, they're better, I feel like, than their record. But also more than anything, they got a lot of guys on that roster that won a national championship last year who were still there. Maybe they weren't the everyday players. Maybe they weren't the huge arms in the bullpen. Well, I'll say that. They didn't have any huge arms in the bullpen last year. Hey-o, Paul Skeens. Because he saved the bullpen every single weekend because they threw him for 150 pitches every start. Anyway, but still, it's a winning culture there, right? And so you got to throw the records out the window. And these two teams, as Luke will bring up here in a moment, man, they've kind of created a little bit of a rivalry here lately. They played in Supers in 2021, and Tennessee beat them to go to Omaha, and of course, played a couple of times since then. Played at the Box last year, and played in Omaha last year, and so a little bit of a rivalry here. And I don't think these two programs have a whole lot of liking for one another. So it should be a rowdy environment at Lindsey Nelson Stadium this weekend, and I can't wait for it. Let's go ahead and hit at the top. The biggest storyline entering this series is the pitching matchups. And as I've said a couple times on Thursday and really kind of reflected in the Volquest podcast throughout the week, Tennessee is going to go TBD, what they turned into the league. And again, this isn't, no one's saying that what you turn in the league is what you 100% have to do. You're not supposed to put two TBAs on there, or TBDs, to be announced, to be dated, whatever. I guess it'd be to be announced in this conversation. You're not supposed to do that, but a lot of teams still do that. It just is what it is. But it's kind of an outline that you turn into the league of your projected pitching rotations. Every team does it. They send an email out. The SEC does on Thursday afternoons around 3 or 4. And Tennessee put a TBA for Friday, which is not shocking. I was 100% expecting that from Tony Vitello. Especially given his comments off the record on Tuesday after the game, whenever we were catching up with him. But TBA for Tennessee on Friday, Drew Beam on Saturday, and then Xander Sechrist on Sunday. And you thought that games 2 and 3 would remain the same. They got, Beam bounced back last weekend. Xander to Snead is a nice little combination. I'll get to Snead here in a moment as well, but you got something working well for you on Sundays. But due to A.J. Causey's struggles here of late, the last 2 weeks, you thought maybe there could be a change, and it feels like that's what's going to happen right now. I'm going to be completely honest with you, and I'll talk about it more, with Luke here in a moment. I'll kind of break down. I record with Luke typically on Wednesday nights, okay? Because he's a busy guy. He's working on jets. He's living a big boy life, making big boy money, way more than me, right? So I got to work around his schedule. So we record on Wednesday nights. But I usually wait until Thursday afternoon to record this first part because I want to get the most updated information for you. And as I say it with him and when we talk about the starting pitchers, and you'll hear it in a moment, at this time of this recording, I don't know what they're going to do. And right now, a day later in real time, as I'm looking to a camera right now talking to you, and you guys might be listening to this whenever, on Thursday afternoon, I still am not completely sure what they're going to do. And Tennessee wants that by design, man. And I'm not going to continue to pester my sources because, next week I'll need something too. And I'm going to need them to tell me, right? And I don't want to, mess up that relationship. But I've asked around. I've had some conversations this weekend, and I'm confident in saying I do think that A.J. Causey will be in a piggyback role, and or he'll have a say in this series, okay? He's going to be out there pitching and hopefully pitching well, hopefully bouncing back well. Will he be the first guy to the bullpen on Friday after the opener, after the first starter? I think he could be. Maybe maybe not exactly. Maybe there's a bridge there. I don't know, but I do feel confident in saying that A.J. Causey's going to throw this weekend. And Tennessee needs him to throw well. They do. Tennessee needs him to throw really, really well to be the A.J. Causey that we know he can be, the one that we saw the first 5 weeks of the season, right? And he's been roughed up. No ifs, ands, buts about it, man. He's been roughed up. It's been a struggle for him the last 2 weeks. Georgia, one of the best offenses in the nation. Auburn, a pretty potent offense as well. And he struggled a little bit, but man, he's capable of so much more. And so maybe taking a little pressure off of him and sliding him back into a bullpen role of long relief or whatever, a piggyback role, maybe that's just what he needs. In fact, at the time of this recording, it wouldn't absolutely shock me whatsoever if he wasn't the first guy out there on Friday as well. I'm not ruling that out, but at this time, it does feel unlikely, to be completely honest with you. So where will Tennessee go? Again, in conversations, just talking with people around the program, it sounds like Aaron Combs could open the baseball game. Chris Stamos is a guy who's done it before at Cal. He did it 4 times while pitching for Cal over the last couple of years before coming to Tennessee. I think those two guys are options to open to get you, 2-3 innings, whatever. Excuse me. And then hand the ball to a long relief. Sam Smith brought up a really good point on the board on Thursday, and I agree with him. If you're going to do that, then why not just start Kirby? Because Kirby's shown that he can go in long relief. But if you do that again, you're taking the ball, at least for Friday and maybe for the weekend, you're taking the ball out of one of your best relievers' hands. Do you really want to do that just to begin the series? I don't know. But then again, every game is important. So I'll be intrigued to see exactly what Tennessee does. At this time, my hypothesis would be that it'll be Aaron Combs handing the ball to A.J. Causey, and that's kind of the plan for Friday. However, as Luke will bring up here in a moment, similar slots. Now, A.J. Causey's a sidewinder. Aaron Combs has kind of changed his motion a little bit. He's not a complete sidewinder, but he's got a unique slot. Very similar types of pitchers. So would it make sense to go bang-bang of similar style of pitchers or kind of mix it up a little bit, which is why Stamos or maybe even Kirby would make more sense as the opener. I don't know. Again, but you're Tennessee. You don't have, to be completely frank, you don't have that many options right now. You just don't. Nate Snead is also a starting option as well. Nothing. I just continue to say I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised of anything because I truly just don't have a grasp on who's going to start that game on Friday. If it's Nate Snead obviously is capable of starting games. He has the second most innings pitched on the team outside of Drew Beam this year, yet he's not started a game. So could he start on Friday? He could, but they love him in his role right now. They got something great working with Xander on Sundays, but also, say on Friday or Saturday, high leverage situation, 7th, 8th, 9th inning, bring that guy in, pumping 100 from the pen, right? They love him in that situation. So all this to say, your guess is as good as mine at the time of this recording. And Tony wouldn't have it any other way, so good on him. And obviously, given the opponents, no love lost between the two programs. Jay Johnson, Tony Vitello. Might have been some ill will there in that Omaha game in terms of LSU not announcing their starting pitcher until really, really late. Kind of an unwritten rule, if you will, maybe. So people don't forget. And we'll see exactly what's going to happen. So it's going to be TBA on Friday for Tennessee, Drew Beam on Saturday, and then Xander Sechrest on Sunday. What I have learned, and what is really, really interesting about LSU, their starting rotation is going to be on Friday, not Luke Holman. It's going to be lefty Gage Jump on Friday, 2-0, 3.98 ERA. They're going to hold Luke Holman until Saturday, the righty, transfer from Alabama. We know his name. We'll get to him in a moment. And then they're going TBA on Sunday. Why on earth? And again, I don't think LSU made this based off what Tennessee did and what they sent into the league. I mean, every team has its own plan, and especially for pitchers, you got to kind of know that in the week. So you do your bullpen on this day, and you're stretching on this day, and your long toss on this day, and all that type of stuff. Each team does what it needs to do. But why on earth are you holding Luke Holman to Saturday when Tennessee the last 2 weekends has been really up and down on Fridays? It feels like the better opportunity to win a baseball game and to start off this series on a high note if you're LSU would be to throw your ace on Friday, because you just don't know what you're going to get at Tennessee, even if A.J. Causey was the announced starter given his last 2 starts. It's really intriguing. So, Luke Holman is being held until Saturday in Game 2. What that does do is, man, it puts pressure on Tennessee a little bit, in my opinion. You better win Game 1. Because I'm not saying you can't beat Luke Holman. You certainly can in Game 2. But it's going to be that much more difficult because he is the best that LSU has. So Tennessee better win Game 1. Again, not saying you can't rough them up, because you certainly can. These bats are capable. Best offense in the SEC. Okay? But it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tougher hill to climb with Holman on the mound on Saturday. So you're going to go Gage Jump on Friday, Luke Holman on Saturday, TBA on Sunday for LSU. About Luke Holman. Well, we know Luke Holman because Tennessee was very much in on him in the transfer portal coming over from Alabama. In fact, it was LSU over Tennessee. I don't care what any 247 reporter that covers Mississippi State might say. With respect, it was always Tennessee, LSU. He chose the Tigers. His best friend from Alabama wouldn't pitch for the Tigers. Well, I do think that had a lot in it, in the decision-making process for Luke Holman and his family. But Holman went to LSU. But we know his name. Really, really good pitcher. He pitched with Drew Beam with Team USA this past summer. They had a bond and a really good relationship, and that makes the intrigue for Game 2 even more, with Drew Beam coming off his last outing where he was great against Luke Holman under the lights at TBA. Well, game starts at 5:30, so you might get a little bit of light there towards the end, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's going to be really intriguing. But Luke Holman, he has been the ace for LSU so far. He was roughed up for 5 runs, 2 earned, off 10 hits, and 4 2/3 innings of work, and a loss at Mississippi State to begin SEC play. So his first start in league play this year got roughed up. Last only 4 2/3, 10 hits, 5 runs, 2 earned. He was tagged for 6 runs, 4 earned off 4 hits and 5 2/3 innings last weekend against Vanderbilt, a start that he still earned the win in. So he's had 2 non-ace-ish starts, if you will. Ace-ish. Is that a word? I don't think it is. But he's been really good outside of those 2 outings. In fact, for the season, if you take away those 2 outings, 2 of the last 5 weekends, recognize that recency bias, but if you take out 2 of those outings, Holman has combined to throw 34 innings and a third of 4-run, 14-hit baseball on the season, striking out 71 overall and walking away 13. Dude's got good stuff. He's got good stuff. Been roughed up a little bit in SEC play, but he's the best pitcher they have. So Tennessee's going to have its work cut out for him on Saturday. What about the Friday night starter and Gage Jump? Well, I'll tell you about Gage Jump. The sophomore, he opted in the weekend rotation the second week of the season, and he hasn't looked back. He logged at least 5 innings in 4 of his 7 starts this year, an impressive 16 runs off 25 hits and 31 2/3 innings this season. Outside of Luke Holman, Jump has registered the most innings on the mound for LSU, and so he's going to get the start on Friday. What about Sunday possibilities? Well, junior Javen Coleman, he's a fellow lefty. He could start the finale. The last 2 weekends he started on Sundays, or he started in conference play, but they use him more as an opener. He's combined for 4 runs off 7 hits and 4 innings and a third during his 2 starts in SEC play, so very much an opener. Could go with Javen Coleman on Sunday. Thatcher Hurd was a name that we talked a lot about last year. He was the opening day starter for LSU coming into this season, and it has been a season to forget for the junior. He's a righty. Thatcher Hurd, 1-4 record, 6.59 ERA to begin the year. He's been sent to the bullpen for each of the past 2 weekends, so he's been out of the rotation for 2 trips around the SEC slate. 6 starts overall in the season, 9 appearances. He did go from Friday night to Sunday before being removed completely from the weekend rotation. 12 runs off 13 hits and 9 2/3 innings against Mississippi State and Florida. He was roughed up in a midweek relief outing last week against Southern, where LSU lost, by the way. He allowed 3 runs off 1 hit and just 1 inning of work in that outing, but has allowed only 1 run off 2 hits and 2 other bullpen outings against Arkansas and Vanderbilt. So he's kind of hitting his stride in SEC play out of the bullpen. So I thought that was interesting and wanted to bring that to the table. So far on the season, Hurd, 28 and 2/3 innings, 35 strikeouts, 14 walks. He's combined to give up 27 runs, 21 earned off 38 hits. Not a good season for Thatcher Hurd. Some other guys to kind of have on your radar: sophomore lefty Griffin Herring, 2-0 record, 2.42 ERA, leads the team with 3 saves. Nate Aukenhazen, I believe is how you say his name. He was really good last year. This year, not so much like Thatcher Hurd. 2-4 record, 6.75 ERA, over 9 appearances. Has 1 start, but he's mostly a bullpen guy. Not a good year for him. Will Helmers is another guy that's out of the bullpen, done pretty well. 1-0, 2.53 ERA. Cade Anderson's a name to watch out for. The Xavier transfer that Tennessee had interest in, but he went ahead and went with LSU when they were in Omaha last year out of the transfer portal. Justin Lower, not a good year. 2-0, 6.46 ERA, 13 appearances. So remember the two-way player, Gavin Goodry is I think how you say his name. He's only pitching this year. Not horrible, but a high ERA of 4.91. And then there's Samuel Dutton, who might be one of the better bullpen arms altogether. 3.00 ERA, no record, over 8 appearances. So the pitching's not been great. LSU ranks 8th in the conference with a 4.61 team ERA. Opponents are hitting 238 against the Tigers on the season. So that's kind of what it is. You look at the bats now, no Dylan Cruz. And I mentioned no Paul Skeens for LSU this year. And I made the joke earlier in the show, LSU didn't have much of a bullpen last year, yet still went to Omaha and won the national championship. Well, it certainly helps when you have a guy that's going to go throw 170 pitches every Friday and just save your bullpen. And that's what Paul Skeens was for LSU last year. But he's gone. We know that. He's with the Pirates now. You got Dylan Cruz, who was gone. High draft pick, he's gone. But you still have Tommy White. Tommy White, former NC State slugger, now in his second year in Baton Rouge, leads the squad with a 324 batting average and 44 hits. A team high 33 runs scored. He hit second in the order. He's second in home runs with 11. Third on the team with 29 RBI. Jared Jones, first baseman, he either hits 3 or 4 in the order typically. He's the power source. Team best, 14 home runs, 34 ribbies. 304 hitter as well. That's third best on the team. You got Steven Malam, who hits 8th or 9th in the order. Second baseman, but he's hitting 314, which is the second best clip of the team. This is not like Auburn. This is not like Georgia, certainly. A solid offense, but only 3 players are hitting over 300 who are in the everyday lineup. You got Hayden Travinsky, who is a DH utility, catches a little bit. He's hitting close to 300 at 298. He was a preseason all-conference selection as well. Mac Bingham is a guy that's been around a little bit. He's hitting 298 as well. Michael Braswell, outfielder, hitting 287. So, again, not a bad offense. Not a bad offense whatsoever. They're hitting 284 on the season. That's 8th best in the conference as well. But a team that, much like Tennessee, doesn't really run an awful lot. 24 of 34 stolen base attempts on the season. Paxton King leads the team with six stolen bases. Steven Malam has 5 stolen bases as well. So that's kind of the rundown of who LSU is so far this season. But again, lost a lot of firepower, but they're much better than 3-9 in SEC in my opinion. I think Tennessee, because again, LSU, we've seen this so far in SEC play, right? I mean, Ole Miss, Georgia, last weekend with Auburn. And somebody asked on the board, it feels like pitching is down in the SEC this year. And my response is there's always great hitting in this league. And it feels like there's never enough pitching. And also you lost some real high-powered arms from the starting rotation, from last year. A lot of good arms, Hurston Waltrip, the guy from Florida. Chase Dolander, obviously the guy from Tennessee. Paul Skeens. I mean, there was a lot of name power and recognition in the arms from last year that this league has lost. But overall, I feel like Tennessee can out-hit LSU and win games deep into series, games 2 and games 3. You've seen that each of the last 2 weekends where Tennessee goes off in games 2 and game 3 because the lineup just keeps churning out hits. Hit after hit after hit, run after run after run. And I see that kind of playing out at least on Sunday, depending on how you do against Holman on Saturday. So I'm intrigued. I'm excited to see what's going to happen here. Billy Amick, Tony Vitello said on Tuesday, I put a story out there earlier this week. he's not hitting yet, or at least he wasn't earlier in the week. Hoping to have him at least on the active roster to be available, which would be a good sign, but they're not rushing him back because obviously Dalton Barger is playing really good third base right now and hitting well as well. And Dylan Dryland moved up to number 3 in the order, and he's killing it. He really is. So obviously want to have him back, but it's good that Tennessee's making do without him, and hopefully he'll be available this weekend, and I'll check on that Friday before the series starts. We'll see if he gets an opportunity at least, but I'll check and see if he's been swinging the bat, later in the week. But last I heard, he wasn't. So he's close, not long-term whatsoever, but might not be ready for this weekend. We'll see. And then finally, I'll come into the SEMO versus Blake Burke sweepstakes, if you will. SEMO at 40 career home runs. Tied with the guy Luke Lipsius, who's about to talk to us in a matter of moments. And Blake Burke is at 41 home runs, the program leader. Those two guys, healthy competition. It's going to be fun all season long. But, man, it's not just those guys. Kavaris Tears having a great year. Dylan Dryland having a great year. Billy Amick having a great year. Who else am I forgetting here? Hitters 1 through 5 is having a fantastic year for Tennessee. And it's been fun to watch. Blake Burke enters the weekend tied for the nation lead with 19 home runs. Tennessee has... Let's see here. Oh, I don't have Tennessee's stat page pulled up. That's unfortunate. Tennessee has, I want to say, 5 players who have double-digit home runs already, which is phenomenal. So expect that to kind of continue on in the weekend against LSU. What does Luke Lipsius think about the LSU Tigers? He will tell you here in a matter of moments when he joins us here on the porch. But first, I want to remind you guys about our friends over at Spivey King and Spivey LLP. Matthew A. Spivey, J. Matt King, Richard A. Spivey, Tennessee fans just like you, just like me, and want to help you out if you have a need. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. TN Trial Lawyers, examples of which can be, as they specialize in criminal defense, family law, and personal injury, DUI, homicide, assault, car wrecks, accidents, custody, divorce, alimony, all that and more. They can help you. 80 years of combined experience, Spivey King and Spivey LLP provides representation throughout state and federal courts in Northeast Tennessee. The firm has a vast amount of trial experience. Practice has been in place for 43 years with this specific partnership since 2012. They have partners who are energized for today's modern legal demands, practicing primarily in Northeast Tennessee, the Tri-Cities of Sullivan County, as well as Hawkins County, Washington County, and surrounding areas. Whether you've been injured in a car accident, need help with a divorce, help with custody of your children, or have been accused of a crime, Spivey King and Spivey LLP is here to help you. Give them a call today at 423-245-4185 or go see them in person at 142 Cherokee Street, Kingsport, Tennessee. Spivey King and Spivey, LLP.com is where you can find them online. If you have a problem, let them find a solution for you. TN Trial Lawyers, my friends, they can be your friends as well. Spivey King and Spivey, LLP. All right, Luke, it was a successful weekend on the Plains. Last weekend, Tennessee falls in frustrating fashion on Friday night. But you come back and you run rule in Saturday and in Sunday, 12-2, 19-5. A lot of good things from that series, but when looking ahead to LSU, let's go ahead and kind of address the elephant in the room, and hopefully as the week goes on, the time of this recording, it's on Wednesday that we're recording this interview. Hopefully I'll find out some more information on Thursday. But we hope to know kind of what the pitching plans are. And with A.J. Causey, what went wrong from your vantage point, and what do you think Tennessee and Vitello might do here on Friday night against LSU?
It's so weird because he starts off so strong. He gets 2 back-to-back punchies, and then you got, Ike Irish coming up, and then Mick whatever after him. And he just seems, Ike Irish, it gets a hit off him. Mick, I don't even remember his name, gets a hit off him. And then it just seems to like spiral out of control. Ends the inning somehow, goes back out there. And then the same thing. He just never really got it back. If anything, I would say he's probably catching a little bit too much white on the plate. But it's just one of those things where like nothing has visibly changed, but people are just hitting him now. It might be there's more data points on him. What Frank was doing with him earlier in the season. Now that people have data on him, it's just not working as well. I still think his stuff plays. It's just, hopefully it's more mental than actual stuff, because I think he's a good pitcher and he's going to be a valuable weapon. But that Friday game is going to be very decisive. LSU, they've struggled in the SEC, but their one steadfast guy has been Holman. So like it's going to be a really, really tough battle on Friday. So if we're, faltering at all, pitching, it's not going to end well for us. But, I trust Tony V. I think we got some good guys that, you know, we can bridge or whatever. It's going to be fun to see what Tony wants to draw up for us.
I know it's a little bit different for you because you would be hitting from the left side, but I feel like, and again, there's so much data out there and tape, and you study and everything and tendencies, but he's been getting hit the last couple of weeks right out of the gate. It feels like he would have more success the first go around the order, and then maybe when they see more pitches the second and third time, then they would start tagging a pitcher such as Causey, who pitches from the side of Sidewinder. How difficult is it to hit that type of pitcher anyway, from the left or the right? And is it kind of unique that they're hitting them to begin games instead of maybe later in games?
100%. It's a different look than what you're seeing, and any different look is what a baseball player doesn't like. You know, we want the stock righty. That's why they call him a stock righty. And he's slinging it from down low. He's throwing hard. And he has a sweeping curve, a really, really, really good changeup. So yeah, like you said, you'd think it would take time for other teams to get after him, and I guess it only takes 2 batters. But yeah, they're just cracking him out the gate. I couldn't tell you what specifically is wrong. Maybe it's the offenses he ran up against. Auburn had a good offense. Georgia, of course, we know they have a great offense. Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, it's definitely a weird look, and that's why I'm kind of perplexed at what's going on with him. But either way, you know, it's got to change.
And again, you're not a pitcher, but you're a baseball player. You went through slumps and you had highs and lows and everything. Regardless if he starts on Friday, he's going to pitch this weekend. Tennessee has so few pitchers that you can really count on. He's going to have to rebound some way. So if you're A.J. Causey, kind of how do you hit that reset? I know it's frustrating. I know it's challenging. But how do you hit that reset and say, all right, let me just start over and try to give my team the best chance to win?
Well, you know, you got to call a spade first and foremost. You got to say, hey, look, I went out there and it was really bad. Yeah. And then, you know, you got to collect yourself, and he probably has a couple of his buddies to go to. He's got some older guys to lean on, you know, Kirby especially. There's people there that'll get him right. You know, Frank's always been big on not so much, you know, mechanics, but more of like how to actually approach hitters and attack guys that way. So there's guys around him that can get him out of the slump. It's just whether or not he takes the information and he runs with it, or, you know, he can like just be scared. But, you know, he coming from Jacksonville State, you know, he's probably a grinder, and he's going to want to get it back out there. He's chomping at the bit. So I think he's just got to get right in the head. Because like you said, we saw that this Tuesday game, you know, the people who didn't pitch are the ones who are going to pitch on the weekend. You know, that's Kirby, Stamos, Snead, Xander, and Causey in some capacity. And, you know, you threw out the whole kitchen sink from everyone else. Of course, it is Tuesday, but they're also telling. So, like you said, we're going to need Causey. We already are fairly limited on pitching, especially with Russell being out. He's just got to come back in a big way. You know, I'd love to see maybe him not start the game, but him come in and just shut him out when we need him most.
You know, it was interesting. He actually he was down in the bullpen on Tuesday, and I forgot to ask somebody about this earlier in the week. I'm really bad at my job. But he was down there warming up, and he never came in the game, so like maybe it was just a normal bullpen work, but I did find that kind of interesting. If it's not Causey, and again, hopefully by Thursday I'll figure out exactly kind of what the plan is. Tony's never going to admit it, never going to put it on record, but hopefully I'll figure it out. If it's not Causey, the way Combs pitched, I think gives reason to start Combs, then piggyback with Causey. You mentioned to me, and the more I thought about it, the more it makes sense. I don't want it to happen, but it would make sense because he's done it before. Chris Stamos could maybe start, you know, go an inning or two and then give the ball to Causey. And of course you have Nate Snead, but if I'm Frank Anderson right now, you know, Beam rebounding, which was great. You got something nice with Xander and Snead on Sundays. I don't really want to mess with that, even though Snead is so capable, right? What do you see happening maybe is some potential bridge guys to maybe get that series started?
So, like you mentioned, over the past couple of weekends, we've seen them gain a lot of confidence in that Saturday, Sunday staff and just how they're running it right now. So I think we do see that will stay the same, especially with Sunday being such an important game. You know, you win a series, you lose a series, you sweep, you don't sweep. Everything matters, or Sunday is all that matters, really. But that Friday game, you know, Combs-Causey duo, I'm not the biggest fan of.
It's very similar.
It's very similar, except, you know, it's very similar. And so I think it's a little too similar to bridge them. That's why I threw out the Stamos. I think they're also building a little bit more confidence in Stamos. They say, hey, it works on Sunday, you know, lefty bridge to righty. Why don't we try it out? You know, what do we have to lose? either way, like I don't like Snead on Friday just because he's been doing so well on Sunday. But the way that Combs pitched this past weekend, I don't mind him. It's just they're so similar, and you want to like mix it up, especially a Tony V run team. He likes to go righty then lefty then righty. Power, soft power, that kind of deal, as opposed to 90s kind of sidewinder to 90 sidewinder. Like you want to mix it up a little bit, but also if you start Stamos, come on with Causey. If he doesn't carry you the whole way, who do you bring in? You have Kirby close the game. It's just one of those things where we're not putting ourselves in the best position because people are struggling. And then you got a guy like I want him to succeed so bad, but Marcus Phillips, who again on Tuesday shows you that he does not have enough command to be trusted in a weekend series. So we're really not putting ourselves in a good position, especially with one of our dogs out. But we're still collecting wins, and we do have a good thing going in Beam on Saturday, and then Xander Snead on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, it's at this point in the season. Now, again, no baseball season is ever perfect, but at this point in the season, you would have thought that you know exactly who Marcus Phillips is. He'd be giving you something. AJ Russell, you didn't want to be hurt at this point, obviously. And then you would expect at least one of the two freshmen to be a guy for you, whether it be Schaefer or Dallas. And these guys continue when they get opportunities. It's just, they got a long way to go, and that's fine. The potential's there, but you make your money if you're a coach when you're kind of in these situations. So I'm intrigued to see what's happening there. And also, I'm looking at the stats here. Nate Snead, we're talking about how vital he is. Man, he's second on the team in innings pitched, and he's not started one game.
Yep.
Just kind of a unique role there. But again, he's been really, really good on Sundays. So I'm with you. I don't know if they would maybe try to move him to Friday, but we will see. Speaking of Beam, what a bounce back. SEC, his start in SEC play was not good, even though he was a trooper that first weekend at Alabama. He rebounded so well. But the two starts after that were just not great, and his start at Alabama wasn't great. But yeah, Saturday was really, really good. He goes 7 innings strong, and not for a couple of wild pitches. He would have pitched a clean sheet. You need Beam, that stability, again, that warrior, that QB1 mindset. That was huge on Saturday.
Yeah, so, I think Georgia, not Georgia, the weekend before Georgia where he really struggled.
Ole Miss.
Was Auburn. Or no, sorry, Ole Miss?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where he really struggled was like kind of down in the dumps. And then I think Georgia it didn't seem like it, but was a bounce back. I think like I said, I mentioned it last week, he threw really well against Georgia. It's just there was a couple tough breaks that pulled him early. They still got the win too. So I think it was the perfect formula for him to go out this Saturday and do what he did, which is a complete game, 7 innings of what could have been shutout ball and looking like the Beam that we knew that he could and should be. And I think now that he has that confidence coming off of an okay start and then a really good start, he is the kind of guy that can just keep it rolling. And what Frank's playing with him, he's going to pound the zone. He's got that cutter working really nicely. And so I am very excited to see Beam continue on this season because you need that guy that you can latch onto. That's not on Sunday. You want it earlier in the week, and you need the guy like, okay, this is our guy. I know Twitter always refers to him as QB1, but you need that guy that you feel like he's going to go out and just do it for you.
You look at Tennessee's lineup, man, and I may have asked you this last week. If I did, I apologize. But, I mean, Tiers 410, Burke 410, Amick 367, Dreiling 353, Semo 351, Dean Curley 341. Goodness gracious, I didn't know his average is that high. Robin 319, Inslee 286. A lot of guys hitting, obviously. If you're an opposing pitcher and the game's on the line, who do you not want up at the plate for Tennessee? Because you can pick about 1 of 5 guys right now.
Yeah, I think I don't want to be on the mound if I'm in that situation. Like if you got, literally any part of the order, we even saw it, with Cal stepping up big. It seems like it doesn't even matter. Like our guys who, like you look at the stat sheet, you got the starting 9 based on the ABs, but then like there's the top 4 off the bench guys, Cal, Bargo, Chapman, these guys, they're all great power, great average, and like it's just nuts what that lineup is doing. And so you start off with Semo, who leads the team in homers, and then you got Burke behind him, and then you're like, okay, what's next? Then you got whoever they want to throw in now since Amick's gone. Then you got KT, Dryling, like it just keeps on going. And so it's showing like it's giving flashbacks of that 2022 team, which by the way, I think they're on pace to hit more home runs than
They
we
are.
did, which is just absolutely nuts. So like this team is just not only homers, but they're um, hitting for average. And then also the fact that they have so many grand slams means that they just do not care about the big moment. Like they're guys that'll get it done. And we see it a lot. The high RBI guys too. Like it's just everything is looking really, really good for them. And they've been on quite a roll these past few weekends.
They hit, I want to say 3 home runs on Tuesday. I can't remember, but they're leading the nation in home runs, or at least tied with Georgia. They had 14 last week. They were down 11 in the home run chase last week. Hit 14.
Crazy.
Insane. Leading the SEC in average. 9 grand slams is a program record. Just a really, really good offense. So I think Blake Burke, can give him credit, obviously. Him turning around his approach at the plate defensively and all that. But them putting him in the 2 hole, a rough opening weekend, but since then, man, it is the perfect spot for him to be hitting in the 2 hole.
Yeah, no doubt. And like
that's where you hit, right?
That's where I hit.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
The big lefty first baseman, I think that I kind of paved the way for him to do so.
In so many different areas, yeah.
So many ways. I had to pass the crown down to him, but we all knew it was coming. But yeah, no, it's that 2 hole is such a unique role because you want a guy with speed, hitability, and then it's almost like the power comes or is like a cherry on the top. And with him, it's like, dude, I mean, I think he leads the nation in doubles now too. Like he had 2 or 3 over the weekend, 1 on Tuesday. Like it's what he's doing is just crazy. He's getting on for the big dogs behind him, but he can also drive in SEMO when he gets on, who's hitting, 350 and is 5th on the team in average. Like it's just one of those things where it was such a good move for him because it's also not a super pressure spot either. Yeah. Because like, yeah, you would like to get on for the guys behind you, but it's not like, oh my God, it's the 3 hole, it's the 4 hole, blah, 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 which is where I think we saw him, feel the pressure, but he's been swinging as freely as I've ever seen him.
So as you accurately predicted, Blake Burke left the weekend as the sole home run champion. What was the text like to Evan Russell this weekend though? Because now he's in third.
I mixed it up. I texted Burke. I didn't text Russell this weekend. I had my fun with Russ. He already knew about it. But yeah, I texted Burke. I said, good job, man. Like I'm so proud of you. Can't wait to see how many you finished with. Shouted it out on Insta and all that stuff. It's all in good fun. But like I think this home run race between SEMO and Burke is going to be even more fun because I think one of them is going to end with 50 plus. I think we'll see a couple 20 homer seasons, which is just super exciting in the sport of college baseball.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's like Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire. Even though these guys are teammates, it's gonna be a blast.
Not on steroids.
Yeah, and not on steroids. Good point. LSU comes to town now. Again, defending national champions. No Paul Skeens, no Dylan Cruz. You add Luke Holman, who's had a really, really good season so far. Picked LSU over Tennessee, makes it sting a little bit. But you got Tommy White, of course. Different team, still a lot of good talent there, but the record doesn't reflect that. 22-12, 3-9 in SEC. They played Vanderbilt, they played Florida, Mississippi State, they played Arkansas. It's been tough, okay, just like Auburn. How do you approach this series, knowing that the record isn't great, but they just won a natty and they still got some dudes?
Yeah, I think that, while I was there, those series that we played against them has paved the way for this to be a really, really fun, almost rivalry game. Even though it's a East versus West, you wouldn't really peg Tennessee versus LSU as a rivalry, but there's a lot of history there that I think leaves some people salty on both ways. So I think that everyone's going to come out with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder because they really want to beat these guys. This LSU team is kind of like last year where they're having to almost rely on the offense, but the offense isn't as potent as it was last year. You know what I'm saying? So like they got dudes that can, smack the ball around, hit it out of the park and drive them in, but like they're just not as consistent as they were last year and as like a legit team is. You got Holman, who's of course a starter, and then you got a couple guys out of the pen, but even so, like one of their main dudes last year was Ackenhausen, and he's got like a 6 ERA or whatever this year. So it's a funky team that you cannot take lightly because that they could explode at any second. but also it's a very beatable team, especially with what they've done in the SEC so far.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, obviously, you can't overlook anybody, but you certainly can't overlook a team that still has a lot of dudes on there that want a natty, played a role or whatnot. But you're right, man. You look at the offense; they're fine. I mean, Tommy White leads the way at 324. That's no 410 like Burke and Tears, but it's pretty good, right? But like they're 8th in the SEC in average. They don't run very well. They got 2 dudes that have hit over 10 home runs, which again is not bad, but it's just not, it's not great. It's not like what you're seeing from other offenses, Georgia, Tennessee. You look at that rotation, Luke Holman is the guy, but, the opening day starter, Thatcher Hurd's not even in the rotation right now. He's gotten beat up. You mentioned the reliever that has been really, really bad this year. They're just kind of all over the place when I look at them on paper. But as we've seen so far in SEC play, despite the questions about Tennessee's pitching, these batches continue to go. So other teams get exposed on Saturday and Sunday because Tennessee just keeps hitting, and I feel like that can be this weekend as well. They might run out of pitching by midway through game 2, and Tennessee's just going to continue to rake. And I feel like that's how Tennessee's won some series, obviously, and they're going to continue to win series.
And so I know, just specifically for that reason, that Coach E this whole week has been preaching, get the starter out of the game on Friday. If Holman goes 4 innings or less, we basically won the series because, like you said, they're going to throw either a dude on Friday or they're just going to try to piece something together. But either way, they're going to be out of pitching on that Friday game. And then, it's going to be basically cruise control throughout the rest of the weekend. So it's extremely important to make Holman work for it and, throw a bunch of pitches, get to that bullpen early. Because like you said, that is their weakness. That has been their weakness for the past couple of years. So yeah, that I think if I were to say anything as the most important part of this weekend, it's get Holman out of the game.
Plus, I mean, obviously these 2 teams played in a series at the Box last year. They squared off in Omaha. LSU beat Tennessee in Omaha. Did they eliminate them? Yeah, they did eliminate them, unfortunately. Yeah, that's right. So again, you're right. The rivalry's kind of there, and it does help too. Again, no disrespect to these guys. Tommy White's a great player. It helps a lot when Paul Skeens doesn't carry the team for one game and save the bullpen for the weekend. Yep. It helps when Dylan Cruz isn't hitting over 500 and you're just playing some normal dudes here. What's your prediction for this weekend for Tennessee and LSU?
I think it's going to be a close one on Friday. I think that whatever we do on Friday does end up working, and it's close. And then I think that the rest of the weekend will go about how it's gone the other weekends. I think Beam's going to have another really good game. And I think we're going to smack the ball really well. And of course, Xander and Snead are going to be good. So that's what I'm hoping for. I think Friday is the game to watch, just because I think it's going to be uncharacteristic of what we've been doing as of late. Maybe like a 3-2, 4-2 kind of game. But again, I would love to see us run rule all 3. I really, ever since we started playing them, I'm not the biggest fan just because, they beat us and we beat them.
You could say that. You could say that for sure. One last thing I want to ask about Dalton Bargo, man. He's been huge. Mm-hmm. Billy Amick, we'll see if he's back in the lineup. And Tony kind of told us this on Tuesday. There's no real rush to get him back in there. Like, you want him back, don't get me wrong, but I mean, Amick or Bargo's been playing really, really well. Dean Curley can slide over. He's, of course, playing really well. Dylan Dreiling has moved up to the 3 hole and has performed really well. This team just always has some answers, and Bargo's been one of the big answers the last 2 weekends.
So that's the sign of a team that has a lot of good chemistry and is just working really well, that when someone as big as Amick goes down, there's no sweat. Hey, we got another guy. We'll be just fine. And that's what we see. We see guys stepping up that you wouldn't expect to step up. You got Simo Burke and KT that, of course, we know where they can do what they do in Dreiling, but then you got guys like Bargo, like Stark, like Curley, who are just stepping up in ways that you need them. Like Bargo hitting a home run and starting off that whatever it was, 2nd or 3rd inning that led to 5 runs on a SEMO Grand Slam. Like that's the kind of stuff that carries you throughout the game. And it's also another thing, like I meant to mention this earlier, but the fact that this last weekend, besides Friday, when they scored, especially Saturday, they scored, I think it was 3 first, us bouncing back and scoring more on them just absolutely deflates a team. So that's really good. Kudos to them. But yeah, like Bargo has been such a quality hitter in that lineup. Just did a lot of oppo power, and it's just crazy. Like you said, we want him back, but like the way that everything's rolling right now, do we need him back? I'm really excited for the way that they've been doing without Amick.
Has Tennessee need him? No. Will? Yes. Do you
Sure.
want him back? Yes. Are you fine without him right now? For right now, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
all those can be true, and that's no
I'm not losing
disrespect
sleep.
to him. Yeah, no disrespect to him. All right, man. Anything else you want to talk about with Tennessee here as we say goodbye? It's a really good ball club. Again, no ball club is perfect. Tennessee's got questions, but yet again, number 4 team in the country, probably a bit overranked, but still very deserving, and they're playing some good ball right now.
Yeah, I just want to. I need that pen to start doing something. That's the one thing that's been frustrating, and you got guys that are stepping up, kind of, but also you got like I don't know. That's the one disappointing part of this team is that bullpen.
Yep, no doubt, and Kirby stepping up, Xander of course stepping up, but sooner or later you're gonna need some more arms for sure. So I'm with you there. All right, Luke, as always, man, appreciate it. And hopefully this time next week we talk about another series win, this time over the Tigers.
Of course, can't wait.
It's always great to catch up with VFL Luke Lipsius. Always brings a unique perspective to the game that you and I don't have. I mean, I feel like I know this team by the back of my hand, but I didn't stand in that batter's box to take 96 on the inner half, right? He did. He played first base and all that, and of course, had a whole lot of home runs, won a whole lot of games for Tennessee, but in that clubhouse. And so I really do appreciate Luke for always doing the show with me and for bringing some of his perspective onto the podcast. It's a big one, guys. No ifs, ands, buts about it. It's a big one. I don't care about that record for LSU. Defending national champions. Still the reigning national champions, and they are going to bring their A game to Lindsey Nelson Stadium this weekend for so many reasons that we already mentioned. The pitching staff intrigues me. I can't wait to see what Tennessee does on Friday night. Maybe we'll get word later on Thursday evening or early on Friday morning, but for the most part, as I've mentioned, man, Tennessee is keeping this close to the, under wraps, and I don't expect anything less with LSU coming to town. So hope you guys follow the coverage all weekend long at Volquest.com. We will talk about it with Luke next week and get you set for a huge SEC series at Kentucky. That's next week. But first, Tennessee and LSU from Lindsey Nelson Stadium. All the coverage you can possibly want and need over at Volquest.com. Appreciate you guys and appreciate our friend Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP, for being the presenting sponsor of The Porch. You got a problem? Let them find a solution for you. That's TN Trial Lawyers. Pick up the phone today for a free consultation. Give them a ring at 423-245-4185 or at Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP.com. Appreciate you guys, as always, for watching us and listening to us here on The Porch.